welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where I get to talk to fascinating women from around the globe. And today I'm super excited to be speaking with Kaye Doran. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kaye as I introduce her to you. But let's just have a little think about truth. Okay, truth is beyond the shadow of the belief system. Kaye is a truth seeker with a deep desire to know, to understand, to reflect, and to feel what is accurate. Then, since becoming a truth seeker, she has become a truth speaker. She is refreshingly down to earth, natural, and real. And all journeys start with definitely being inquisitive. I'm all about that. I'm such an inquisitive person. So I'm super looking forward to our conversation today, because that means, therefore, that Kaye will be a storyteller. And today we're going to be talking all about her new book. She's able to take complex situations and make them simple so that you can understand and evolve and to grow. And that's what we all want to do, right? She believes that life is our journey to integrate our physical and spiritual selves and to discover our truth. So who is she? She's an entrepreneur, an international best-selling author, a speaker, facilitator, a women's shamanic leader, life coach, and creator of inner expressions. She helps women realize their leadership from within them. And you know what? We are all leaders. Sometimes we just don't know it. She's an unshakable optimist, much like myself. She lives with a foot in both worlds, the physical and the spiritual, working with unique blends of her gifts in connection, knowing, shamanic energy, sound healing, and accredited master life coaching. So I'm super looking forward to hearing about her journey, how she helps women who feel stuck and time poor and overwhelmed to really overcome and become empowered with their self-worth and their ability to create change in their world. So welcome, Kaye.
Thank you, Annie. What an intro. That makes me sound really, really fabulous. Thank you.
You are super fabulous. You are super fabulous. And I'm so excited to have you to the show, because I love talking to women who are all about, positive energy, attracting just great things for ourselves, and to then be able to put them out into the universe. And I know that you help people do that on a daily basis. So great to have you on the show. Okay, so let's start, Kaye, and tell me all about your book. What is it called? Tell the listeners what inspired you to be part of this amazing book.
Yeah, this gorgeous book here that's color coordinated with your gorgeous sunshine yellow banner. It's the book that was the unexpected right for me, because it's a beautiful book collaboration. And I'd been, connecting with a lot of people over the years that were approaching me to do a collaboration. And for one reason or another, it was never the right fit. So I'd come to the conclusion that, I'll just write my own book. And I love how the universe works. So, sometimes we think we're saying no when we've got the idea of what we're going to do, but the no isn't the no. It was no to those opportunities, and then became a yes to this opportunity. And I was actually approached at the same time by two people, a gorgeous woman in America and John Spender, who's done the A Journey of Riches book series, and this one's Motivate Your Life. And I went back to both of them and just said, these are the reasons why up until now I have said no. Because I always like to leave a door open. And the woman in America took that as a no. So just went, okay, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
And a few days later, John had come back and answered each of my points with such openness and really responded with understanding, seeing my perspective, not trying to sell to me. And there was a bit of humor involved. So at the time I was in East Arnhem Land. So it's like that knowing started to tweak inside of me. I got that feeling, I think this is the one, after saying I wasn't going to do a collaboration. And when I got back to Perth, we got on Zoom and we had a chat and everything was aligned, and he was so open. It's my brand. If I'm going to be in a book with others, I need to know there's a real resonance. This is my brand that I need to, protect in a sense and maintain. So he was able to share other chapters from other books, tell me about some of the people that were in the book, and really answer questions. And then I just knew it was a fit. And part of it was his record. This was book 29, Motivate Your Life, and I saw the cohesiveness, if you like, the match in the other books that he'd done, and thought, this guy knows what he's doing. I researched him. I did my due diligence. I found someone that I knew that knew him, and just went, look, I feel like he's really the real deal, but I'd just like your feedback. This is what I do, due diligence, and really make sure, even though my knowing says yes. And he just said, yeah, he's a gorgeous human being. And I really loved also the title, Motivate Your Life. And it really made me think about, well, what has motivated my life? Because a lot of people are really looking for that motivation. And in particular, the last years we've come out of, that's been really highlighted for people as well. So I found myself part of a book collaboration, and then I was very blessed that the editors and John themselves had voted my chapter to go number one, to open up, which was lovely. And I have read the other chapters because I think that's important, and there's some fabulous stories and differing perspectives on motivating your life. So I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Oh, so you should be. Oh, congratulations, by the way. It's super, super exciting to be part of this whole journey, this whole experience, and to get to be there. Number one for the book is incredible, to be that opening chapter. I love what you've actually said and shared with the listeners about your journey on why this book and why this time. And I think that is just so wonderful for people listening in to actually hear you say that. That's it. I'll be the same. I mean, I've got collaborations that I'm now running, but I'll also be part of others. And there are those big decisions that you make that other people might not realize. They go, oh, there's an opportunity to be part of a book. Whereas when we're actually looking at the other side, we're going, no, is this book right for me at this time? Is this right? Does this align with my mission, my vision, my whole sense of self? Because that's it. You become part of an exciting collaboration with others. My last one's got 18 authors, but also you're then branding by association, if you like. That can be an incredibly powerful thing and definitely a wonderful thing. But if they don't align with where you're at, then there's this whole disconnect. And I can actually understand what you've shared, and I thank you for sharing it. But other times it's like, no, it doesn't feel right for me. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's so important for people to be listening to, because I know a lot of others will come to me going, oh yeah, I get asked sometimes to be part of a collaboration and I don't know if I should or not. And that's exactly why they should really consider that.
Yeah. And there's also that knowing, that inner voice of knowing, what a lot of people call intuition, that has to guide us as well. So you'll hear me go, well, I knew, but then I still had to do my due diligence so that I felt completely comfortable. And one of the things was as well that, some people, not all people, will put the books into categories that really aren't aligned with the book. So you sell a few books and you become a number one bestseller. I really, again, for that integrity level, needed to know that the book was going into the legitimate categories that represented the book. So memoirs, personal development, motivation, all that kind of thing. So in being number one in 7 countries, it's legitimate under the banners where they came from, as much as also the alignment of the people that I, was writing with, and the publisher himself. So it's always be open, be open. So I'd said no, but when another opportunity came, I was still open to exploring it, because you just never know. And this opportunity has led to so many other things as well, So when we say yes, don't have an expectation of why am I saying yes. If the yes is there, let it unfold, let it grow, let it bloom, and let it reveal itself, because it's more than just powerful messages in a book as well. It's the connections of collaborations and
Yes. It so is, and I love your word in my intro for you was inquisitive, and for mine it's always been curiosity, and it's that same sort of going, you know what, just be inquisitive, be explore it, let it flow, be curious as to where this is going to take it, because that's exactly it. Once you've made that big decision to be part of it, you know, you don't want to be then limited on your view of what that actually means. You know, that's it. Once you fully dive in, then there's just all these other opportunities and relationships that happen. You know, now we're connected and chatting, you know, people that I know, you just never know where these things happen or go to, and it is so exciting. I actually enjoy the whole journey of the unexpected treasures, I'll call it.
And the truth is beyond the shadow of the belief system. So, you know, if I'd stuck to that belief of, no, I will not be part of a collaboration because of previously, then I wouldn't be here now. Do you know what I mean? So the same thing as if you join this with a particular belief in mind as to the outcome, then you limit yourself for the full experience of, as you say, those gems and, you know, those connections and the unfolding.
Yeah.
You know, I love to write and I love to bring my message across, and this felt right. That was enough for me, you know.
This is a message in trusting your gut and your intuition and just your whole essence for our listeners. Absolutely. So tell us then the title that really resonated with you, Motivate Your Life. Tell me what that means to you, and why people should therefore, obviously, you know, get the book, read the book, be part of that. But why is it motivating your life? What does that even mean?
Yeah, and great question, because the first thing I had to do was go, oh my God, I've signed up. Now, what does motivate your life mean for me? And it made me journey through my whole life's experience and go, you know what? One, self-motivation is really important, because we all see the people that go to the big events and they come back and they're amped up and I can do this, and you know, short time later, crash burn. And nothing changes because that's not motivate. It's through an external source. It's not changing anything or igniting drivers a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time for people. And then I realized what's really motivated my life has been throughout all the challenges and everything that comes, which is what happens, and the changing of my beliefs and perspective and thoughts, and, you know, has been that inner voice of knowing that is the driver, that is my GPS, that has guided me through everything, and in the changing of the way that I view myself, that I think about and feel about myself, and in that how I viewed the world. And when we get in touch with really listening to, and the leadership coaching that I do really is developing that leadership from within, so that we can lead ourselves throughout our life according to, you know, what our soul's purpose is, what we feel called to. And I'm not talking about big grand stuff. I'm just talking about everyday life, relationships, you know, everything that goes with it, where we can trust ourselves. And I find that motivating when I can tap into like this experience and go from a no to, well, here we do have a book, you know, because that knowing said to go there. And that sense of self and self-worth and the excitement of being on a particular journey where, yes, I have to take action, and yes, I can have goals and aspirations, but there's a whole nother element of letting that knowing motivate and guide me, like my GPS, showing me where I most need to go.
Oh, excuse me for sneezing on you. That absolutely. Now, often people listening in will then go, okay, that's really good, but fear kicks in. All right. So it's all great going, okay, I've just got to trust my intuition. I've got to go with this. I've got to be driven by what really honestly motivates me. And then the handbrakes go on, I call it. And and so I'm going, okay, well, that sounds really good and really big and really brave, and nice for you ladies to say that. But I've tried that before and I just become fearful. I become overwhelmed. I don't find it relaxing. What's your response to that whole issue of fear?
And I love the handbrake analogy because I'm always talking about being in the driver's seat of our life. And really good point. And part of it is the understanding how we work in our growth and in our life. So I love friends. So here's the thing. To fulfill aspirations, we need to grow into that person, which means get past our current comfort zone. Now, as we start to do that, I look at it like this. There's a double elastic band around us, one that holds us to the old and the familiar, and one that's calling us to the new. And as we start to move towards the new, the other one gets tight. And then fear will become our friend. Fear will start to come up because it's like, I'm going to have to let go of certain behaviors, sort of certain thought patterns, and I'm going to have to grow into this next phase of my life or next aspect of myself that I'm moving into. So when we understand that as we're getting past our comfort zone, fear is going to show up, it becomes our friend. And that way it's telling us, you know what, you are heading in the right direction. You're just going to have to let go and grow. And then here's the thing. Fear will then cripple people, like strangulate them. And that's when the doubts, the insecurities, and all those other false stories start to play out, because the subconscious actually wants to pull us back to what it feels, according to those beliefs, is safe. So the subconscious is our friend that's basically going, yes, to whatever we're feeding it. Yes, okay, I will bring you this experience so you can respond from that perspective, from that false belief. So we're understanding fear is our friend, means I'm heading in the right direction. But most people try to then get rid of and suppress the fear because they're fearful of the fear. But every element of us has a right to be seen, heard, and validated. Doesn't necessarily need to be followed. So there's a process that I teach people that's very, very simple. And it's about going eyeball to eyeball with the fear, because fear is perceived as a negative, you know, stabbed in the back, spoken about behind my back, all that negative stuff. So this is how we're going to bring the fear forward and diffuse it. You write it down, or you can speak it with someone, but you've got to say to the other party, I'm just going to look you in the eyes and say this, and you are not allowed to respond or try to fix. You just listen to me and say thank you, or you write it down in a journal and you put the heading, these are my fears, they're not my truth. And then you write down and speak out every single fear that is there. And once you start, more will come, more will come, more will come. And when you're empty of that, you write or you speak, these were my fears, they're no longer my truth. And then you write the opposite, those positive outcomes, those outcomes that you're aspiring to. And then that's feeling really good. And then you finish it off by writing or saying, this or these are my truth. Now, in that process, you've faced it, you've validated it, you've given it a platform to be seen and heard, but you're not giving it the power to fuel you, if that makes sense. You're defusing it. And then you put it in the driver's seat of your life, in the passenger seat of your life, as you keep driving and taking action, knowing that it may be diminished, but it might still be there. And then it's just going to be a little bit of a road trip with a companion that's just a little bit annoying. But the further that you keep driving, and you can keep doing that process and understanding. And part of the thing, Annie, is when you understand, it's very empowering. Oh, I understand where I'm at in my process of growth. Then it can diminish, because they are false stories and beliefs. They're not real. And sometimes we can say to ourselves, is that real, that I am useless? No, it's not. And would we speak to a child like that? If a child came to you and said, I can't do this, I'm useless, or I don't know enough, would you say, yeah, I know, terrible, isn't it? You wouldn't. You'd be out all the good stuff. Of course you can do this. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the way you've shared that, and I totally agree that you've got to, I call it being a frenemy. Like you got to friend the enemy to actually learn about that. Your response, your understanding of it, the interpretation. Whereas when you run away and when you hide from it, or you just don't want to, you've just got this sort of awkward relationship with it. It has the power. It draws you back to the negative. Whereas when you actually bring it in, I love that visual of bringing it in next to you on the passenger seat and just go, I know you. I know all about you. And I'm going to get to know you more and more and more because I'm the one in control here. I think that is a fantastic analogy. So thank you for sharing that. Now, often people who get to this sort of stage in their journey have done it for a reason. All right. So what was your why? Why are you now wanting particularly women to actually go, you know what, ladies, you need to become more self-empowered. I want you to overcome these fears. I want you to trust your own intuition. What has been your driving force for this?
Twofold. So back in the day, I did my business for about 20 years, and I experienced, especially in the spiritual community back then, when I was in my 20s, I'm now 57, there were a lot of people that wouldn't help me, that were threatened by this knowing that I had, or, were ego-based, and it kept forcing me back into myself and listening to that knowing. And it just ignited within me what I had as a child as well, which is, can't we all be friends? Can't we all celebrate each other? And also watching women hand their power over to other people rather than being guided by them, elevating them. And I'm like, but you've got this knowing power and potential inside of yourself as well. You've just got to get past those false stories and beliefs to discover the truth of your potential within you. Then in my 40s, I actually re-entered the workforce, and oh my gosh, I experienced severe bullying by teams, by upper management, by people in positions of authority from each role that I went into and progressed. And I got stuck I ended up in this very big role with, 50, 60 staff and looking after 7 locations in an industry that I had no experience in. They didn't want me there, and upper management and some teams, but upper management. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get out of this on my own terms. But all the excuses came. Yes, with all my experience behind me, all the excuses came. I was up very early. I had to be out at the airport by 6 or 6:30. I was there till late. I was tired. It was good money. I had a car. I had fuel. So the change never came. And then it was forced upon me with a redundancy so they could get me out. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I thought I'd get a job really fast after that, but I didn't. I'd put on 20 kilos, which had never happened before. The body was in a lot of pain. And as I took the time to address that, I just came home to myself and went, I've been betraying my values. I'm living a life, and had lived for those 10 years, so out of alignment with my values of who I am, how I am, the kind of world that I want to live. It was such a rude awakening. I'd spent 20 years people seeking my help out, wanting to grow, wanting to connect. And it really sparked within me, again, this passion of coming back to what I'd always lived by, those values. I'd blurred my boundaries, and was I meant to be in that environment for those years? Yes, because I had to learn and grow myself and be more relatable to the women that I now work with. Because if I'd been doing this for 30 plus years and nothing else, they would go, well, what do you know? And I'm not talking about just getting caught in your comfort zone in work environments. It's anywhere. We do it in finances, relationships, our health and well-being, as well as our careers. And life had a way of unfolding in such a way that it brought me back to this, which I know I've been born to do, more fired up than ever, to help women, support women to feel and know their own inner power, to understand that inner terrain that stops us from creating the lives that we truly love, where we live a life where we're sort of self-motivated and self-inspired and can move ourselves as in the leaders that we can be in our own lives in any of those areas. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. And I love what you shared there about not betraying your values, and it sounds like it's a hard statement to have, but when you start unpacking it, it's like, yeah, well, we do, all of us do betray our values. Sometimes we haven't even paused in life to stop and reflect, well, what are my values, to actually speak them out, to write them down, to be aligned to them, to really think about, if I look at 50 values on a page, what screams and leaps out at me, and therefore what is guiding my inner self. So sometimes we haven't even done that journey. I know with people that I coach, they haven't ever thought to do that.
Yeah. And then the boundaries.
Yes.
So what are your setting the boundaries in different areas of their life, not just relationships, but even the boundaries about your self-time. And, that a lot of women aren't even asking the question, daring to go, what do I want the landscape of my life to actually look like?
Which is obvious, because so many people come to, you as a coach, me as a coach, going, I'm on the hamster wheel, that phrase, I'm on the hamster wheel and I just don't know how to get off. And then suddenly saying, like you just shared, well, it was 10 years, it was this or that. You kind of go, well, somewhere in there we just go on this journey. We normalize the discomfort. We say we have to do certain things. We have to, be on a plane at 6:30 in the morning. We have to miss certain occasions that are really important to us. And we've also got to, sometimes, you don't always get your own way. You have to, have some sacrifices, and considering all of that in your journey. But it's really interesting that we get to this state of desperation often. And that's what, I'm sure you and I are very much aligned there, that we don't want to get to that stage of, desperation. We want to actually be assessing and monitoring ourselves where we're at, so that we can always stay, even keel, and then continue to bring out more and more positives in ourselves and our journey.
And here's the sad thing, Annie, that I look back going, I was stressed. I had become so familiar over those years with stress that I mistook my empowerment for, by the time I got out to the airport situation and I'd grown in the level of the work that I was doing and manifesting, I suppose, in terms of what I wanted, Monday to Friday, and a car and fuel card and all this sort of money. But the stress had become so familiar that I didn't know I was stressed. And I had this attitude of, bring it on. You don't know who you're dealing with. And not even recognizing that as fight. I was so ready for that internal come on, thinking, well, I'm empowered. But I was stressed, and I was in an energetic fight stance.
That's the
sad thing, that so many, men and women, but so many women have become so familiar with stress, with betraying their values, with blurring their boundaries, that they don't recognize that it becomes normal how they're feeling. And
yes, you definitely don't need to be Wonder Woman all the time. You are a wonderful woman all the time, but you don't need to be in the cape, in the gear. I'm ready, I can take it on, I can do. It's like this. It's high energy, but it is also exhausting. Whereas you can be that Wonder Woman, just actually as yourself, when you've got the other strengths of assurance of who you are, where you're aligned, seeking out good opportunities for you that resonate with you, work to your advantage without, creating, major disadvantage to others. You can do all of those things and be incredibly wonderful without that fight, that fight influence. I love what you shared earlier in that conversation too about, the way we don't treat our children that way. And I know a lot of the mums will be listening and going, yeah, that's right. I mean, I had five children that I've raised days. I've now got a couple of little granddaughters, and it's everything that we do as women is, you can, do this. I want the best for you. Don't let other people bully you. Don't let them treat you badly, but you also need to really, all those great truths of, respect other people, and so we would never, but we would never treat them poorly, but we treat ourselves poorly. We speak wonderful words of power, empowerment into their lives, but we therefore often sort of disempower ourselves. We give our own power away so easily. And it's been a fascinating journey for me, and speaking with many women around the world, this it's not a decision. It just seems to happen that we self-sacrifice, that we normalize, putting ourselves sort of lower in the pecking order because we believe that therefore that sort of allows other people, it makes us a good person. It makes us sort of being kind and caring, but it actually means that we're limiting ourselves always in those situations. It's a fascinating.
And burning out.
Yeah.
And burning out. It doesn't matter how positively we raise our children, they're also still going to have things to work through, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're all here to also unmask, there's a lot that's gone into our subconscious that's incredibly positive, but there's also a lot, and it's not always just our parents' fault. Sometimes it's just the lenses, how we perceived it as a child, that we built a story around it and then stored it there. And the amazing thing is when we start recognizing them as false stories and beliefs and start dismantling that and seeing that we are worthy, we're born worthy, of having a life that is more just than being in that hamster wheel, and that we are allowed to receive. And the more that we can receive and give to ourselves, the more that we can actually then give out to those that we love. And the more that we can express our true, authentic self, the more we honor ourselves, the more we actually feel alive. And to me, that's really motivating,
It's so motivating, and that's exactly it. Motivate your life. This is motivating. It is motivating to go, you know what? I'm fueled by this sense of, inner power, the inner power that comes with, I am confident. I am assured. I'm in a place where I'm doing what I'm wanting to do, and I'm making choices of what I don't want to do. I love what you said before too, that sometimes the no is a no then, and it could be a yes later. And I've had those
right now.
So it's just a not right now. And I love it. I very much live by that principle. It's like now I often go and say, oh, thank you for that opportunity. I'll consider it. I don't make a decision on the spot. And I know you did that with the book as well. Do your due diligence, and then actually go, okay, for this moment, in this time, is this right for me or is it not? And then, so you can go in and out. There's a real peace, I think, Kaye, in when you go in and out sort of opportunities without it. Nothing's negative. It's not negative. It's not like, oh, why didn't you use that? It's kind of like it just didn't resonate at the moment. It's like it's really flow, right? And I love being in that space that it's like, it just didn't quite align at the moment. And then suddenly you get attracted to something else and go, oh, yeah, I think this could be it, and I've had people who've done that just in my recent book collab going, oh my gosh, I've had those same experiences of I thought it, I wanted it, but I wasn't too sure. And then you suddenly just go this, I don't even know how I got here. It's just that it was obviously meant to be. And then suddenly, and they'll say things that you've said before, but I've said no before. And then suddenly it feels right. There's so many opportunities like that I think we can sometimes get trapped in that blanket statement. I've been here before. I made a decision. It was painful. It was exhausting. And therefore the no is the no. Whereas, that may be true, but often it's like, no, it was a no because of so many variables that now, and another time it can be a yes. I think another thing that you tap into too is that sometimes that yes and that jumping in can be actually the learning experience, can be the learning curve. It might not be fantastic that time, but you're going to learn and grow through that the next time, which will be amazing. That we all actually have to go through those stretching the comfort zone, facing the fears, learning it. That's all part of it.
Yeah. And there is a gift in it all. But the main, and the thing is, we haven't been here before. We were there in the past. The past doesn't exist. New opportunity, a new chance to view it and approach it differently if that's what we choose. But my chapter is actually called Your Inner Voice of Knowing, Power and Potential. Now, this is the thing. We have this inner voice of knowing, and a lot of people call that intuition, but for me, words have power. And I've always known it as a kid that it's my inner voice of knowing. But here's the thing. We have got 3 guiding mechanisms in that one voice. That is powerful voice. So the inner voice of knowing is that God, divine, spirit, whatever word you want to give that you're comfortable with. The inner voice of power is our soul calling for what it wants to experience. And then the inner voice of potential is our future self that brings us the aspiration. So it might be Annie, write that book, or Annie, start that podcast, or Annie, start that business. And so we have that aspiration to move towards something. So that inner voice aspect of potential is the future self going, come, you're already successful. Let us show you the way. So those 3 voices, inner voice of knowing, power and potential, if we can tap into that and dial that up and know that it's our GPS, it's got our back, it's for our highest good. It won't tell us why or how. It'll just say this direction, this direction, this direction. And we don't question Google, do we? We put in, this is where I need to go, and it goes, turn right here, turn left there, turn right. And we're just going, yeah, sure. And then we end up at our destination. So, that is really what I'm about helping women to connect with, because you can learn the understanding of navigating the mind, the emotions, the subconscious, what happens when you get past your comfort zone. But the true, unwavering companion that drives us, that has our back, that will never betray us, is that inner voice. And when you look at it in terms of inner voice of knowing, power and potential, I can feel the power in that. I can feel the trust in that. All I've got to do is learn to turn the dial up on it and then follow guidance.
Yeah. No, it just brings you joy. It brings you, that's right. It brings its own energy. It brings peace. It brings freedom, definitely, to be able to then make choices in a different mindset, in a different way, without all the anchors that you've had before. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to actually read your chapter myself. I haven't done that. I'll self-disclose to the listeners. I'm going to do that because I'm just loving this conversation. Basically, then how do I and how do the listeners find your book?
Well, you can either go to Amazon, and if you get grabbing it from Amazon, those proceeds are going to a wonderful charity in Bali, so looking after the elderly and the children that are in need. Otherwise, you can also purchase a copy from me if you want it signed, and it's not up on my website yet, but you can contact me via my website. And the other chapters are fabulous as well. All sorts of different people coming from their different stories, different writing styles, but all with a deep desire to share about what's motivated them through their life. So, I'm really happy doing the reading everyone else's chapters, and I'm so proud for everybody. I'm so proud for the collective result.
Yeah, it is so fabulous, I think, when you do read all the other chapters. Sometimes we focus in, this is why I got into this book, or this is my chapter and I want to make it the best chapter ever, and all that sort of thing. And then suddenly you realize, when you then tap into the collective and then you start reading other people's journeys or, reflections, it is so inspiring. Yeah. So empowering, just that process going, oh my gosh, it's so interesting that all of our journeys, you end up then getting such unique perspectives, such a different way. I agree what you said, different writing styles, different ways of seeing things. It is so fascinating. So always, that's why I actually love anthologies, because, that's right. I mean, obviously, if you've got enough for a whole book on a topic, definitely go for it. But, sometimes it's just that whole, the different perspectives that make up the anthology.
I'm going to write my own book. I'm going to be part of, I already am a part of another one that's coming out for just women. But whatever it is that you feel called to participate in. But, I read a chapter, and of course you have to wait until it's actually out, and there's almost that hope they're good. Each time I finished a chapter, I have gone to that person on Messenger and just said, wow, genuinely, really loved your chapter. I loved this perspective. Or because I also think it's great to celebrate everybody else that's in the book and acknowledge them for what they've written, and that I've gotten something out of it. Or maybe it's reinforced my chapter, but from a slightly different way. Or, some have just written incredible stories. And, and I think it's good to acknowledge this is a collective, collaborative book. And yes, am I lucky to have chapter 1, but everyone's, the whole book is good because of the whole book, not just because of chapter 1. And I'm all about acknowledging, and celebrating the other. Hey, we did this together. Something to be really proud of. Yeah.
It is such a great thing to be proud of, and I'm all about, together we achieve more and together we rise, and that's exactly what you've experienced in this. For those listening in, I'll have all of Kaye's details on my platform, but you want to go to kayedoran.com and you'll find all the details there, and plus on our platform, and then I'll be able to write the specifics about the book chapter so you can find it very easily, this whole book. So while we're talking to Kaye, this is fantastic about her chapter, and I look forward to hearing the responses from different people about all the different chapters, who you resonate with. And I love what you said there. That's right. Go on always when you've read something or been touched by something, but from whoever it is, let that person know, because they've put their heart and soul into it. It's so refreshing, and I'll do that. I've just put out a book on twins because I had 2 sets of twins. I know, crazy backstory for another day. But when you suddenly get this message from someone, often on the other side of the world, just going, oh my goodness, this was the thing I needed to hear today, or, I love your point on that. Sometimes it's even surprising to you. It might not have even been your key point, but it resonated with someone else. And it is an incredible feeling when you go, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad that I put those words onto paper, that I put it out to the universe, that I encouraged a person. It's the biggest buzz ever, that it made a difference, and that's what we do.
Isn't that why we write?
Exactly.
Isn't that why we write? We feel that we've got a story or something of value to share, and the hope that it ignites something, and even just one person makes a difference. Your voice is being heard, or your message is just, being received. And
it's that feeling of, yes, my job is done. I just felt like if I've been through this journey, I want to put it out there. I want it to, it's very cathartic writing, and there's definitely an incredible growth opportunity through becoming an author. But the other side is exactly that. It's like if it helps one person, and then some, then it just blows your mind when it's like not just one, it's 2, it's 50, it's 100. You never know. It's like it's unlimited. But it is amazing. And not that I'm amazing to do this. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you're getting this at a different stage of your journey, because you don't want that person to have the same, they'll have their own challenges, but they can have a quicker journey. They can have an easier journey. And that's what we're wanting to do, particularly as women. We're wanting to actually help others have an easier road, realize the power of women uniting, the power of the collective. We all are here together.
Absolutely. And not feel so alone. When you read these stories or these things, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that feels challenged by this or by that, or, that we can not feel quite so alone for many. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the sad thing, that a lot of people do feel alone, but they don't have to. There are just women around the world that you can then, that's right, read a book like this one, or others, and actually just tap into their networks, their tribes, give them feedback, find out, that authors are very approachable. Write them an email, write them a letter, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you've reached out to me. It is such joy. Oh my goodness, I have so enjoyed our conversation today. Everybody, you're wanting to go to kayedoran.com. For those of you watching on the internet, sorry I look a little bit dark today. I'm actually on a little holiday in Morocco and I'm working with the natural lightings, which aren't really great at the moment. So I thank you for bearing with my bit of a ghosty shadow on the screen. Kaye, on the other hand, is looking beautiful. She's lit up, radiant. And I just love the contrast as I'm looking at the screen. For those of you listening in, you don't need to worry about that. I hope you're having a fantastic day where you are. If you're traveling, listening to this podcast in your car, wherever you are in the world, it is such a joy to have you joining in all of my episodes that come out every week. And I just get to meet fascinating women from around the world, and women are so fascinating. Their journeys are fascinating. Their learnings are fascinating. And I really thank all of our listeners from Memoirs of Successful Women to just be always inspired, never be intimidated, always take a little gem, something that Kaye said today, that you just go, yeah, that's right. I want to take my foot off that hamster wheel and actually just have a little pause and reflect today about, well, that's right. Who am I? What are my values? What are my boundaries? Am I living that life that I'm wanting to live? And if anything's stirred up with you from this conversation, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Kaye, also to myself through Women's Biz Tribe, that you can actually not feel alone, not feel confused. You can have people that can just sort of, have that conversation with you to help you on your way. We are all about that. So I thank you for listening, and I thank Kaye to be joining us. And I wish you all the best with your future success for this book and the many, many books to come, and for all the other fellow authors in your book. Congratulations to all of you. I just think it's such a great achievement, and I'm just loving, there's a real energy in women becoming part of more and more collaborations and their own books, and it is just such a joy to be seeing at the moment. So keep it going, ladies. Any final words from you, Kaye?
Oh, look, thanks, Annie, for having me on and inviting me into this conversation. My final word that I really like to say to everybody is, you know what? I have this saying that the power of change is in your hands. You have everything that you need within you. And if you need support, you reach out and you find the coach or the mentor or the person that can be your guide through the terrain that's holding you back. But the power of change is in your hands. Do whatever it is that you need to do to answer that calling to whatever your aspirations for change are.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Kaye. It's been great having you on my show.
Thanks, Danny.